All right, gamers, we have a video here from Kete the Seventh, Zenless creator, W Gamer. I want to see if this video has anything worth to talk about because this is something. This is a take from Mr. Pokey. He's obviously referencing to. I'll talk about it a little bit in this video, but I stand by the fact that I think Mr. Pokey is actually right, but people just misunderstand it, and maybe he didn't even fully understand what he was saying. But that's besides the point. Oh my fucking god. I'm already getting pissed off. I see the thumbnail. I'm gonna start tweaking. Let's just focus on the video in front of us and not get distracted.
They decided to reduce the age.
Never mind. I wanna I can't say this on Twitch or YouTube. Damn. Alright, whatever. Let's just
HP of the boss, but then inflate its defense to levels that have never been seen before.
They're gonna find a way to make the game counter or fight against Miyabi.
Part of the cause of this is HP inflation.
We're tying all this back to the HP inflation.
Today, we're talking about HP inflation.
HP inflation.
HP inflation is outpacing the average of characters.
HP inflation is only a problem if you are dog shit at the game.
based EO. I think it's a
I, personally, struggle a lot.
If ZZZ keeps inflating the HP in response to the clears of the sweatiest players, it will lose its casual player base.
Wait, hold on. What's that take from that one from the Billy guy? Terrible take. This is literally terrible rage bait. People better have not fallen for this.
Players, it will.
Also, why does he keep talking? Shut up. Holy fuck. Like, shut up, dude. All you ever do is lie about the games you play. Oh my god. All you ever do is lie. Not even just about the games you play. You lie. Your entire channel is built on lies. Anyways, from somebody who actually, has a brain here, I wonder what the devs are thinking of for increasing the HP too fast in Deadly Assault as a lot. Wait, Deadly Assault. As well, what are they cooking? Or maybe they're cooking themselves because Honkai Nexus Anima is coming up. We'll see. Nexus Anima is trash, bro. I gotta drop that Nexus Anima video. I ran out of time to play it. Honestly, good. The game's bad. People are not gonna leave their current games for Nexus Anima. It's not happening. We'll see in the future because they increased HP. The priest was low-key necessary, or not the right amount, because Typhon, the UCC, and even Pompey needed to increase, but not the butcher. Priest are the fiend.
Lose its casual player base.
Wait, who's this? Anomaly Zone 0? Bad take. No.
Which could be the end of
Yo, based VTuber.
the game.
Right now, today, our roster can still clear, but if this trend continues aggressively, it will become a problem. It's important to note that this is heavily anti-consumer. It pushes players away from pulling who they like and more towards pulling who they need. That tension exists in every gacha, but HP inflation tilts the scale even further toward meta chasing.
I agree, but I cleared the Defiler, the newest boss of Nekomata. I didn't put up that video. It's sitting in my editor right now. I really should put it up. That's my skill issue. It's been half a year something for a new team just for all of them to be useless a year later. Yeah, Star Rail has a much bigger problem.
At this point, it no longer feels like a natural balance adjustment. It just feels like raw inflation to make clears harder.
I'm just gonna assume these are random screenshots and don't actually have any. I mean, some of these should be clearing. Just saying. That's a level 10 bin. Yeah, it's for theatrics.
Last cycle,
That's my assumption.
you scraped by. This cycle, you didn't clear. Not because you built wrong, or you played poorly, or you pulled wrong, but because HP spiked. When HP inflation gets so steep that you're practically forced into specific characters just to clear it all, it stops being about matchups and starts being about mandatory pulls. That's not healthy design.
By the way, some of that is done intentionally because it's a gacha game. Make that clear. They do part of that is intentional. But also, Zinless has much better balance than like every other gacha. Just period. I mean, I can't think of a single like top gacha that has as good as balance. 'Cause, oh boy, if you play Dokkan, Star Rail, hell, even Genshin Impact in the modern day, like, wow, it's not the same, not the same. It's enough with this dumb cinematic BS. I mean, it's okay, I get it, but it's not something effective for me. Maybe, you know, like somebody who's here just for the entertainment stuff, like maybe they'll like it, but I don't know. I don't really care. Yeah, I don't know.
Be told, I feel like I'm a little bit late on this. As it seems this entire conversation around ZZZ and its in-game content is reaching a head.
This comes up every few months for Zinless for like no reason. I say no reason because the people who bring it up aren't even. It's people like Saint Tontas. That's what it is. They just be yapping.
It feels like the community has been completely divided on multiple fronts when it comes to the topic. And every day I see more and more fighting amongst ourselves that will ultimately just lead.
Why did you chain it to... Oh, you're playing Haramasa. Never mind.
To nowhere. So today, I would like to start over and go back to the beginning, work our way down the line, and go over everything that has happened to the game, break it all down, speak on some objective facts, and speak my own truth on the matter. Welcome to my channel. My name is ZZZ, and I'll be your host today. Chapter 1. The Dawn of a New Game.
I might put this in 1.5 times speed.
On July 4th, 2024, a heavily anticipated Hoyo game has finally...
Okay, I don't think you need to go this far back. I think this is a little bit much. I'm going to put this in increased speed, only because I think this is like a little too much. But let's just see.
hit the gacha market after almost 2 years.
I also don't want to like. I don't think if you are doing all this for theatrics, then I like that's not what I want to talk about. That's not what I'm looking to have a conversation about. Like I want to get down to the brass tacks of the actual HP inflation and this, you know, misguided quote.
First teaser back on May 13th, 2022. And due to the popularity of other Hoyo brands, such as Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail, many players were eager to give this new action RPG a shot. But to say things started off great would be falling very short of the truth. As the game's launch was negatively, things started off great would be falling very short.
R such gacha game is a cesspool of, you know what, never mind. Listen, if I like carved out my brain and then went on to Reddit, the first Reddit I'd be on is r slash gacha gaming.
Of the truth. As the game's launch was negatively received by many, and while there were a multitude of reasons, the one that stuck to me the most was the combat was too easy.
This is because people didn't get far enough into the game, and yes, it was easy at launch, but they didn't get far enough into the game to even get to the... First off, this is a deleted account, I think, our deleted post. They didn't get far enough into the game to even get a full sense of the combat. And there was difficult stuff, but they also did increase the difficulty directly after. And they said so themselves. So, like, I mean, look, I understand this criticism, but at the same time, it's like a bunch of these people didn't get far enough in the game to actually get too difficult combat in the first place. And then they would go online and then say that the combat is too easy. So, also one of the big reasons why it had such a bad launch is because the hate campaign from people on the outside of the, or I wouldn't really say the outside of the Hoyo community. A lot of it was Genshin players as well, but there's a big hate campaign from other gacha players around the game in general.
And when you had literal clips of content creators being able to clear the in-game content while being blindfolded, it ended up creating a significant.
This wasn't even the highest tier Shiyu defense. This was the stable tower.
Portion of the player base saying that they can just mash to win. And when the combat was such a big selling point for your brand new action RPG.
That was the stable tower. That wasn't even a fair showcase. And Mr. Pokey does stuff simply for the entertainment. It was for the entertainment. It wasn't there trying to actually show off the game's combat or anything. It was there for the sake of entertainment. It's not, the word's not disingenuous, but like, it's not an accurate representation of what the game has for combat. Literally any modern team that has any investment can just like one shot in 2 seconds. We were way too early. Like, that's not a good representation of like the game.
That ended up not being too good of a look. So between patches 1.0 to 1.3 for the in-game content in Xenoblade 0, almost.
Also, that's not like, as I said, there's more nuance to why it had bad ratings.
Anything and everything was beating the game with ease. It didn't matter if people had really bad builds, their agent skills weren't leveled, or even some were using teams with little to no synergy. At the end of the day, they were still clearing the game with relative ease. But because of this, it always puts ZZZ in a bad light for anyone trying out the game that wanted more of a challenge. From terms being thrown around such as baby game, this is a mash fest, or my favorite, skillless zone 0. I've
actually never heard anybody say that last one. But once again, it's a mash fest for people who don't actually like try to interact with the combat systems. And as I said, like, they weren't far enough to actually get to the difficult combat. And again, I repeat myself, it was still super easy at launch. All those are true.
It was pretty clear how a lot of people outside of the community really felt, to the point where even some made skits to make fun of the game even more, while trying to boost up others in the space simultaneously. And I know some players in the space still haven't come to terms with this yet, but there was a little bit of truth in their words, even if a lot of it was over-exaggerated. Let me explain. From July 4th to December 17th of 2024, the game
1.4
that we played back then is nothing to what we have now, combat-wise. From being limited mechanically by forced QTEs on chain attacks, heavily limiting our combos, to only having...
Okay, also, the every character can ult and QTE thing was one of the biggest changes.
One ultimate shared across the entire team, making any agent who isn't a damage dealer practically have no ultimate inside their entire kit, and in-game HP being so low that you never once had to A, interact with enemy mechanics, or B, learn how to play your team better. For a painstaking 5 months, we were locked into limited...
Okay, you say you don't get what he's doing. He is setting up for the big point of this, like the HP inflation debacle. As I said, I think part of this wasn't necessary, but yeah.
Activity in a game that didn't feel rewarding.
Why people trying to use the cunning hairs? Okay, I normally would engage with that in good faith, but like that's not the point that's trying to be made here. Like that's not something we're not gonna go there.
Die-hard fans such as myself. And while patch 1.1 did help to a certain extent with creativity by adding manual chain attacks, it still felt like something was missing. So the beginning of the game was a lot of growing pains that we as a community had to overcome. However, that script would soon flip on its head shortly after, on December 18th, 2024.
No, this is a real dude, it's not AI.
Content would change forever.
Yes, every game is easy at the start, yeah.
Chapter 2, The Turning Point.
Please do not tell me you're gonna blame part of this on her. I swear to God, dude.
Saying patch 1.4 breathed life into the game would be quite an understatement.
By the way, she still clears Ice Week stages in 30 seconds. Nothing has changed.
1.4 was truly the turning point for Xenoblade 0. By serving as
it's just dependent on the enemy layout.
The soft relaunch for the game to incentivize new players to give it a try and inspire old players to...
I literally did it like 2 Shiyu defenses ago.
And they did this by giving out satisfactory rewards, while also giving away a free S-rank DPS agent in Haramasa, while also releasing the most anticipated agent in the game's short history, Miyabi. But the most important thing for me was the changes to the combat. By completely overhauling the old physical system and introducing a new in-game mode. But still to this day, some players will downplay how big of a change this actually was, so please allow me to explain.
Wait, who's downplaying this? Okay, again, I think he's doing this for theatrics. But they literally changed how the core combat works by changing the ultimates, and this is a massive increase to your days meter and ability gen for your other characters. Like this is very big. Like, huh?
Allowing every ultimate to be used on your team is more than just a damage increase. It's more than just mere style points. It was a fundamental change to how we approach the game as a whole, as ultimates from supports such as Nicole, Sakaku, and Lucy gave more energy to your team. Ultimates from stun agents allowed for not only quicker, but more controlled timing to stun enemies. And
also, there's a really weird thing where 5-star support agents are not getting the energy boost that other characters are getting. I just realized we escaped Center Hell. Yeah, double support comps have been, and double DPS comps have been like the rage for a while. You no longer need a stunner because they, guess what? They added more diverse characters. There's variety. I honestly forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, so there's a weird thing where these limited supports don't have the energy boost. The fact that you get bonus energy for these bunch of these like older supports is really, really good for their combos. And these modern ones don't give that energy boost, which I find really dumb. Yuzua, though, she actually does. And that is one of the things that makes her so insanely overpowered. But yeah, I don't know, I just think it's weird. We haven't got a stunner since 2.0. Yeah, we have. Jufufu. When, oh, wait, no. Oh. Yeah. No, but bro, I don't care about that. Like, you're over here trying to mix me up, bro. We don't care. We don't care. We don't care. How much impact does trigger need? You just run an impact slot 6. And like 2-piece impact, yeah. Yeah, anyways.
Defense agents like Caesar could finally use their ultimate and do... This completely changed team.
Okay, I'm so glad he wasn't about to lose it right there. Because for a second there, I was like, there's no way he's unironically gonna like try to say something with Caesar ultimate. Her ultimate is literally garbage.
Rotations, and it opened up a new level of skill and player expression. And by combining the decibel change with the manual chain attacks added back in 1.1, they finally gave those who wanted more everything they needed, while still making the game more fun for those on the casual side of the audience as well. So no matter what kind of player you were, this was a win for everyone. And what better way to show this newfound player expression than with a new game mode that gave you the ability to perfect your team's rotations and strategies in the new Deadly Assault. When Deadly Assault first came out, it was incredible, as getting all the premium rewards were set at a low bar, while still allowing those who wanted to push their teams to the limit. And for the first 6 months of the game mode, every single reset, we would see players from around the world discover new combos, rotations, agent techs, and synergies. Watching the community come together to perfect things, while letting players who are on the casual side not have to try too hard to get all their polychrome, was such an amazing sight to see. And I remember telling my good friend Leno, there's no possible way anyone could push these teams any further, and week after week having to eat my words, as they would find a way to go even further beyond. But also, during this time, Miyabi was released, and was set as the new power ceiling of the game, and would remain there for...
Yixuan is going to be one of the only characters who can deal with this content.
Chapter 3.
Oh, bro! I'm tweaking.
A heretic appears. The release of Miyabi in 1.4.
A heretic appears. Oh no, bro. Yeah, knowers of this video and chat. Oh boy. Trust me, whenever I get more free time, I'll there'll be a follow-up.
Was a weird case for many reasons.
I say that knowing that Jiao Cho video still hasn't come out.
As she was by far the strongest DPS agent in the
I
game,
swear it will happen
reaching
at some
damage
point.
ceilings other agents couldn't even fathom. It felt like anything her sword touched just disappeared, and many players started saying nothing in ZZZ was Miyabi resistant, trivializing the content with little effort. It got to the
Well, nothing until this most recent update. They made it an anomaly immune phase on a boss. That's also ice resistant and takes less anomaly damage, so like her teammates don't work as well.
Point where if you didn't pull for Miyabi, some players in the community would laugh or shame you. And trust me, I know. She was so much stronger than anything else on her release that agents like Ellen Joe were constantly catching strays. And a great example of this was the infamous damage calculation that showed M0 Miyabi being better than M6 Ellen. Just keep in mind, this was pre-buff Ellen.
I mean, look, a lot of these calculations are done based on bad data, because a lot of them are done release, right? But yeah, it was true. She was that much better.
But as the great saying goes, with great power comes great drama. And my source to that quote is, I made it the f up.
True. Frankie, first off, that number isn't true. Also, Alex, just pull for Fufu. I don't know.
On December 26, 2024, St. Tontas made his first video on ZZZ, and let's just say, the community wasn't,
I'm pretty casual fan of ZZZ, and it's the only gacha I play. I don't feel really comfortable, and I don't feel comfortable having my intelligence questioned by some fat guy with a receding hairline. Oh my god, you know what? Thank you for including this. You listen, first half of the video, entirely redeemed. Entirely redeemed. Pull for Fufu on her rerun next patch. I'm a pretty casual fan of ZZZ, the only gacha I play. I don't feel comfortable having my intelligence questioned by some fat guy with a receding headline sitting in front of the computer all day. I thought it's not like I don't agree with some of his points about the game. I just think some of the other points are stupid. He says any character should be able to clear anything quickly, which isn't realistic when you consider that 1, each character has an element attached to them which can't be changed. 2, the bosses and enemies in this game have weaknesses and resistances to various elements. And I'm sorry that Anton isn't the best person to bring into a fight against a bringer who has a weakness against either ice or yeah.
happy. God, that thumbnail is beautiful. I mean, it's a problem.
Look, he has good thumbnails. As much as I hate everything about his content and his messaging, he has good thumbnails. I think we can all admit that.
It's a problem. I could sit here and go through the ongoing war between St. Tontas and the ZZZ community, but I don't get paid enough for that. Whether you hate him or love him, or whether you agree or disagree, it is an undeniable fact
All he does is lie.
that the term HP inflation would become a lot more prevalent throughout the entire community after his arrival. And this would lead to some players asking questions on different platforms.
Wait. So, I should let him finish. But is he getting at that this is all St. Tontas' fault? You know, I never thought about it like that. But, like, maybe he's right. Maybe all of this, like, stuff going on in the community is, like, Saint's fault. Because I don't know of anybody else besides Saint and his, like, orbiters who, like, legitimately have, you know, caused issues. I never thought about it like that. Yeah, you know, maybe.
Such as, is Miyabi too strong? Was she actually a problem? It will remain there for...
Sorry, I misclicked.
How, whether you hate him or love him, their community strong. I will...
Is she too strong? What would be defined as too strong though? Because they're balancing everything below her. And they're bringing up the weaker ones to be at that new balance point. The phrasing too strong is just like I don't know how I feel about that.
Was she actually a problem?
That's a maybe part of being every. Oh, I don't care if the. Okay, here's the thing. If it's one character who's power creeping everything and they balance around that, I literally do not care. I literally do not care. Because it's not a problem. Wow, one character out of 50 is way stronger than the rest, but then everyone's balanced around the same bar. Like, it's not a big deal. It's a problem when it's like Star Rail, and every like 2 characters is a major power creep, right?
Would Hoyoverse start expecting more players to have her and increase the in-game content accordingly, making accounts without her fall behind? It actually got to the point where brief comparisons with a character named Acheron from Honkai Star Rail were being drawn.
No. I don't know. I saw a couple of these. It's not the same thing. Acheron in Miyabi. Somebody's gonna come and I messed up her name. Whatever. They're not the same. These are not the same thing. Yes, Acheron is far and away the best whenever she came out. But it's not the same thing. Acheron has competition, right? And now, sure, the GOAT has competition with each one, a couple other characters, but like, this is not the same thing. Acheron is a character that they've consistently done power creep, other stuff, there's better characters, blah, blah, blah. Like, just, it's 2 different games with 2 different game states. Like, I just don't think they're comparable. I think Hoshimi is, like, there's a bigger gap whenever she came out than what Acheron had. Because Jingli was still really good and runnable. But, like, Acheron didn't have this massive gap above everybody else. There's a massive gap in Zinless between her and the rest of the roster, at least until they start doing more supports, which we now have. So that gap is closed a little bit, and that's the new bar of power. I don't think these 2 are the same situation. You don't have to agree with me. I'm sure a lot of people are going to disagree with that, but like I just don't think these 2 are like the same situation at all.
So when the patch 1.6 drip marketing happened,
As somebody who plays both games, like, and like is informed and does all like the meta stuff, like I just don't think they're the same situation at all.
a couple months later,
They don't feel like it.
Soldier Zero Ambi. Whether you want to believe it or not, there was a mild concern to see what direction Hoyoverse would take, as they just released Astra Yao in 1.5, bringing a new level of support the game had never seen. And right after, they were now about to make the current face of the game into an S-rank DPS. Would they continue to push the agent ceiling? Or was Miyabi just a special case, being a Void Hunter?
Special case being a Void Hunter. Ambi came out underperforming, just like Elle and Joe, and so they're buffing her again.
But I believe we all know what actually happened soon after. However, I still believe patches 1.5 through 1.7 are very interesting to go back and look at, because there was a common trend being set during this time. Chapter 4. The Calm Before the Storm.
Let's keep improvisations on stage, shall we?
Patches 1.5 through 1.7 was a special time for the game in my honest opinion. They made it clear no DPS was going to overtake Miyabi anytime soon, with the releases of Evelyn, Sambi, and Hugo, while also releasing more general agents for more teams at the same time, like Astra Yao, Trigger, and Vivian. And outside of a couple exceptions, no boss felt too restrictive, and it genuinely felt like player expression was at an all-time high.
This better not be copyright. It is copyright? It's okay. I'm not saying anything. We'll cut it up. Is this whole section just a montage? Dude, it's just Evelyn. I think bro likes Evelyn.
ZZZ was in a pretty solid spot during this time. But as patch 1.7 drew closer and closer to its end, the Game Minutes community would be put through its next big test, moving into patch 2.0. And oh boy, were we in for a ride. Chapter 5, the first anniversary.
Can we hold on? Please show clips of the miasma fear-mongering. Please. Because I really wish I had put in more effort. Because I was clearing the content. I cleared with the same teams as these other people who were trying to demonize the whole miasma thing. And I cleared just fine, without an issue, on worse builds. So it quite literally just was a skill issue. And there's many ways to optimize it across the board if you actually put effort into it. And there's this whole saga. I made a video that, and like all this other stuff going on. But there was so much misinformation at the time. Like, oh my god! And even I did it myself. I fucked up. You'll see that whenever I do the follow up. The way too long follow up. But yeah, I don't know. Wild. Yes, the red bar thing.
With the first anniversary of Prison Zero finally here in 2.0, players had a lot to look forward to. Whether it was continuing the main story, the 2.0 anniversary rewards, or getting their hands on our new Void Hunter level agent, Ishwin. Everything looked promising in the beginning, and seemed like ZZ could have a seamless 2.1x version era. However, even with all this, the talk about HP inflation in the game's future didn't die down. In fact, it grew. But if we were to go and reference these charts here, we can see at the beginning of 2.0, it was not inflation, but rather HP deflation for both Shield Defense and Daily Assault. Shout out to my friend Fish, by the way. He made all these charts for me, and I greatly appreciate it. Link to a spreadsheet in the description below. But HP...
Oh, wait, thank you. That's what I care about the most. Hell yeah. Wait. Oh my, yo, wait. This is where I want to be. Oh, yes. This is what I care about. The actual HP. That's still not double. Wait, what? This went down? What the hell? A rank clear? Wait, what? DPS requirement for... Wait, I don't understand this chart. A ranks need less DPS, what? Oh, wait, no. That's for the time clear. Okay, the wording's a little confusing. That's about an A rank in terms of time, I think. Right? Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what that is. Okay, so we don't care about the red line. We only care about the blue line. Yeah, so overall the trend is upward. And it is tripled since launch. About tripled since launch. And in 1.4, around here, is where you notice the trend to go up a bit more. Right, so there's new sets, everybody gets ultimates, so on and so on. And then it dips down. It goes up and then it dips down a little bit, and then a spike, a high spike, and then a high spike for 2.0. Oh, okay, it's important to keep in mind this, so miasmic enemies, all of them, whenever you break their meter, they take percentage HP damage. So realistically, you can take like, I think it's like what, 15% HP? I have to pull up the number. But whenever you break the meter, they take like 15% of the HP health and cut that down. So you could cut this in 15%, and I'm pretty sure the number would be closer to down here. Because typically you break it at least once. Now obviously, for most characters, your DPS gets ground to a halt whenever they have the miasma phase going up. But like they do get their HP reduced by a certain like set percentage after you clear it, right? So yeah, it's gone up and there's been a massive spike, but that's the reason why it matters for the context of this first one inside of 2.0 is because that, you know, the big fat guy, whenever you broke the miasma meter, it took a big chunk of his health away. So like, you can't just consider the actual raw HP numbers because there's nuance to it. You have to consider the actual mechanics of the fight and the stages going on, right? So this is the one thing you got to keep in mind when looking at this. Like these numbers, yeah, it's like tripled from launch, but you have to consider the fact that they've done major system changes around here in the middle, right? We've gotten new gear for everybody, so everybody's doing more damage. And there's a mechanic that quite literally alters the state of the enemy's HP and defenses. Okay. And then the total HP amount, it shows a similar trend here. As for launch, it's like what, 15 million? Is that 15 million? It's like goes up to like 44 million, something like that. Yeah. So it's like, as I said, like 3 times the amount, looks like. Yeah, this is a pretty steep line when you consider total HP, but there's things you gotta keep in mind. I don't know if this guy has kept track with all of the enemies because there's multiple enemies within a certain group. I don't know if Hakush necessarily like shows all the enemies in a group. I don't remember, but I do know Hakush has updated their data recently, so there's a lot more data on the website. But yeah, I do think there's a lot to be said about this specific thing, but yeah, just wanted to give my perspective on that. Let's continue.
It's not the only thing being brought up this time as well. As with the introduction of Yixuan, we now had access to a brand new class called Rupture. And following the introduction of Rupture came a new enemy mechanic called Miasma. And while yes, this mechanic was designed with Rupture in mind, it still felt fair. And that's because you did not need Rupture agents at all to deal with it. As defensive assist, dodge counters, and ultimates would all reduce the shield. And because ultimates were so effective against it in general, it made agents like Seth and Caesar's ultimate finally have a good use case, as in almost every other scenario, using their ultimate was a waste of time. And then furtherly, you were greatly rewarded for breaking the shield. As upon breaking a Miasma shield and shield defense, the boss would immediately lose 50% of their max HP, effectively meaning you only had to do around 85% of the total HP to defeat them. And for Daily Assault bosses, when you break their Miasma, you do around 2.5% of their total HP. But just remember that Daily Assault bosses have way more health than Shiyu, so 2.5% is still a lot. And on top of all this, your entire team will gain 80 energy as well, allowing you to immediately capitalize after the shield break.
So he does mention that. And there's another thing I want to mention here that adds a bit of like nuance to this discussion, is that the actual value is dependent on the character skills individually. What do I mean by that? It's not that any particular character here has a set ratio or a set better clear rate than another character. Let's take a look at Lycan, for example, right here. So Lycan, if we look at his actual player data, there's this amount called the miasmic shield reduction, or the etheric clear threshold, or whatever the hell. They changed the name to make it more like easier to read for people. This is the value that determines which move does which amount of miasma clear. In other words, each move does a certain amount of damage to the miasma shield. That's what this number is for. This is something that I got wrong in the past, so I'll make that clear here. It will obviously be in my follow-up videos so that people actually know like how this works. But this is the important thing to keep in mind, that not all characters are made equal. Lycan, for example, his ultimate is 673 of the etheric clear threshold. I'm just going to call it that for the sake of this video. Hopefully you're following along. But interestingly enough, let's look at the character who is the hot debate here. Yixuan. What is her numbers, right? Well, guess what? Her on her regular ultimate is 870. Slightly, it's a bit higher. However, her talisman ultimate is 726. It's closer in range. You want to know the funny thing here is Seed. Seed on her ultimate, this is what I think is very interesting. Seed's ultimate is actually 1040. Okay, it is not made equal across the board. Different characters have different values for this. Not any particular character seems to have a set advantage at actually clearing the miasma. It's sort of just whatever Hoyo like dictates to it. And yeah, as you said, Seed's animation is longer. So there's a lot of like things you got to take into consideration for who's actually going to be effective at clearing the miasmic shield. And so the narrative that Yixuan is directly better isn't exactly true in multiple ways, right? Part of it is true because she's got multiple ultimates and multiple high damage values, but if you consider the fact that during the ultimate animation for other characters, you could dodge counter or have characters that are off field, mind you, do more dazed damage than her being on field doing potential ultimates, then those characters or those teams would, of course, be better at clearing the miasmic shield, right? There's multiple factors to this. And so this whole idea that people try to, come up with at the beginning that, oh, you have to use Rupture or like Yixuan specifically has an advantage is not true for the first part, but for the latter, Yixuan having specific advantage has more nuance to it. she does in a way, but not necessarily true, especially when you consider characters like Trigger, who are off-field focused characters and are stunners. Character like Trigger actually has a much greater advantage at a mechanic like this because it's going to be based on number of hits. And well, what does Trigger do? She hits off-field, right? This is the one of the key things you got to keep in mind. Now you can see here, her miasmic shield reduction apparently is 0. But even then, like, there's the amount of decibels you get back from these characters, which of course, when you use their ultimate, is going to be an increase here. I want to see if Chu Fufu is also 0. I don't know if this multiplier is true, but let's just take a look here. Maybe they designed it intentionally like this. But like, my point still stands that like it's going to be dependent on whatever the character is ability, right? So this one's 0 here. What's her chain attack here? Her chain attack is also seemingly 0. So yeah, it seems that the value is 0, which is done intentionally. But again, my point still stands that even if, you know, their chain attacks are, or their aftershocks are 0 miasmic clear threshold, it's dependent on the character and what their actual values are. And so different characters' moves and move sets will be more effective or less effective against miasma, right? There's a lot more nuance to it than just saying, oh, Yi Xuan having 2 ultimates makes her directly better. Well, not necessarily entirely true, right? There's a lot of things to consider for a character if they are good at clearing miasma or not. And it's also not stun values, like I said previously, based on EO's tweet. That was a mistake. Yeah, again, that will be more detail whenever I do the actual follow-up. But yeah. Astra is the best ult clear because you ult and then you do 2 chain attacks. In a way, yes, actually, that does make her really good at clearing miasma because you get 2 ults. So, yeah. It's like chain attacks aren't the best at clearing it, especially because like if we do like miasma clear threshold based on animation length, stuff like that, and go really into the weeds of it, which I don't think is really necessary because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because you just dodge counter and then clear it. Yeah, you could definitely make an argument that Astra helps clearing it.
So miasma so far has not been an issue, and it is nowhere near as restrictive as some might have thought it would be. But that's not all the anniversary patch gave us, as we also got our first ever agent to get buffed in LN.
Actually, does Orphe? I'm curious now. Wait. Does Orphe get any... Is Orphe, like, special? Like, does she... It seems her aftershocks are 0. I could easily test this, but I'm just going to believe the numbers here because they're pretty accurate for everything. Or they are accurate because it's data mined, right? But even then, like, characters that, you know, if you do the math, have a higher miasmic shield reduction ratio would obviously be better at clearing. And that's not saying Yi Xuan specifically has a higher ratio in terms of, like, animation time. Anyways, that's enough, like, nerd talk. Let's continue.
And Joe. And I bring this up to not really discuss Ellen's changes specifically, but more so what this buff meant for the future of the game as a whole.
I will say the last thing on that is the real advantage to Rupture agents there is that the fact that they get less of a DPS loss. They still have 25% damage reduction from miasma to deal with. They just ignore defense, so the 80% defense increase doesn't affect them nearly as much as the regular units.
As this buff is what led players to believe that if older agents start to underperform, the ZZ devs will be able to breathe life into them once again. But even after this, some believe this may have just been a one-time thing. It would never happen again. A fluke, you may say. But now with the Soldier Zero ambi buffs coming in the future, we know that Ellen's buff was no mere fluke, and they will continue to do this when they deem necessary. But overall, throughout all patch 2.0, the endgame still felt fair, balanced, and not that big of an issue. That is, until we get to the next chapter of this story. Chapter 6. The show era begins.
What?
The talk around HP reflation really hit its peak recently with the arrival of the new daily assault boss, Defiler.
God
damn, she thick. What the fuck? As this was by far the most public outrage I have ever seen from the community before, and a lot of players.
Oh, dude, Yo, chat, you gotta be like hounding me in the Discord to actually upload. God damn, bro.
Will say that HP inflation needs to stop. And to that, I actually have to disagree, as I believe that statement isn't strong enough.
Interesting statement. But also, I cleared it with Nekomata. So I don't want to hear any of this HP inflation, blah, 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 all this other stuff. Nah, I cleared it with Nekomata, and my build wasn't even like min-max to the highest degree. Okay.
So rather saying HP inflation needs to stop, we should be saying agent shielding needs to stop, or at least not be as egregious. But some of you
I understand what he's getting at. I just don't fully agree with saying that is the correct statement. But I'll let him cook.
may ask, what does shilling mean? Well, lucky for you, my good friend Nyx has a great definition for this. Shilling is when something is inherently designed to push a specific character or archetype to perform in the best possible conditions, and in some cases, even overperform. And this is why I can't stress enough that the real issue is far more than just an HP problem. And in fact, if it was truly just HP only, then you as a player would not feel it nearly as bad.
Okay, wait. So I immediately understand what Nyx is getting at there. The Defiler is so heavily tuned to a specific type of character. A lot of other characters, even if they're crit characters, just have a bad time in the fight. But this goes into what I was saying with like the nuance of like the miasma shield clear thing. A character like Trigger is going to have an advantage in this fight because they're off field and they can help you get rid of the phase that is immune to anomaly, immune to stunning, because of her additional damage. Like, there are ways to actually get around it with these other characters, but like this is right that they are making mechanics that are quote unquote shield for a specific character.
And to properly explain myself and point of view, we're gonna have to go back to 1.4 really quick when the first signs were being shown to us. Back in 1.4, when Miyabi released, there was a new boss, Bringer, added alongside
Miyabi.
And Bringer was by far the perfect Miyabi boss. From the buffs he gave, the hand phase taking great anomaly damage, and being much more susceptible to freeze than other bosses.
Wait, does the hand take more anomaly damage? Is that why people call this a shield fight? I literally to this day never understood it and never understood why it was referred to that. Like I actually never understood like the discussion around this boss fight. Does the hand take more anomaly damage?
As he was able to be frozen for longer periods of time. Everything about Bringer screamed Miyabi.
Wait, does he get frozen for longer?
Far the perfect Miyabi boss. From the buffs he gave, the hand phase taking great anomaly damage, and being much more susceptible to freeze than other bosses, as he was able to be frozen for longer periods of time.
Is that true? To be honest, I legitimately like don't know.
Everything about Bringer screamed Miyabi. And if you are a longtime viewer of my channel, you know that I've had the honor to be able to help countless of players for the past year, helping them all to improve their in-game results. And I can confidently say that even back in 1.4, I saw people struggling, and it was almost always against Bringer. Anytime I would try to help someone struggling with Bringer, there was almost always a common factor in place. They didn't have Miyabi. And this could have been they were just taking a break from the game at that time. They also could have started the game after 1.4, or the one that shocks everyone till this day. Maybe they just didn't like her.
Breaking news, the editor has been pronounced dead due to a brutal amount of editing he had to undergo the creation of this video.
But at the end of the day, not everybody was able to have her on their account for different reasons. So making bosses that shield new agents has been a thing since the beginning, and truth be told, there is nothing wrong with that to a certain extent, as it makes sense that a company like Hoyoverse will want to sell the new agents on banner. But where it starts to become a problem is when the bosses are so tailor-made to the new agents that playing other team archetypes into that boss feels horrible. It's perfect.
Okay, so it's what I said with the Defiler and the fact that it's so made around Seed. Yeah, I can agree that it feels bad for sure.
Perfectly fine for different archetypes to thrive against specific bosses, but other archetypes should still be able to enter that fight with a fair challenge. And this is where we now go back to patch 2.1 and the arrival of Yuzuha. Yuzuha was the next big...
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, this unit might be a mistake. She's like too good for Anomaly.
support added to Zenless on 0 during Astro Yao at the top of the tier list. Being an incredible anomaly support while also giving general buffs as well.
I know what I said earlier, it's like too strong, but like... She's too random. Oh, in terms of like theming? If you're gonna make a behemoth, make a void hunter or something? Okay, I get what you're saying, I get what you're saying. Look, this unit is... Okay, look, she is literally perfect as a unit. Plays amazingly, one of the best feeling characters to play. Insane kit, right? Very good flexibility. Everything about her, the character itself too. It's like this is like a 10 out of 10 character. The only thing I could say like you maybe wouldn't be like a 10 is like design wise, but like I fuck with anime schoolgirls, so like doesn't bother me personally. And so, yeah, I said earlier, too good doesn't really work as a phrase, but if there is a character that fits that regard, it would probably be this one. They gave her so much detail in her kit. It's crazy. A guaranteed parry that is very easy to hit and activates your other moves. Mwah. I cannot glaze this unit enough. I adore this character. And so I don't know what he's gonna say here about her, but my God, what a crazy unit.
But with Yuzo as a rival came a change, as all Deadly Assault bosses will receive a 10% anomaly buildup resistance. Now this isn't the first time they have done this, as back in 1.4, Pompeii specifically also had his anomaly buildup increased. But the reason it felt even worse in 2.1 is because of how it changed team rotations. All bosses needed 10% more buildup, while the agent that increased anomaly buildup for the team just so happened to be on banner.
Ah, okay. So that's where he's going. They released her, but then they also buffed anomaly resistance. Okay.
And on top of this, specific Deadly Assault bosses such as Miyagi and Defiler have an additional anomaly buildup multiplier added to them. This was such a significant change that months ago a friend named Shiro reached out to me on Discord, and he truly showed me how this affected his teams. And for those of you who don't know Shiro, he is a very good player. But there was many cases now, without Yuzuha on the team, old rotations just didn't work anymore, or in some cases, agents would have to change their gearing requirements. Two great examples of this is Miyabi and Yanagi.
Wait, she has to change her gear requirements? What? Oh my, wait a minute. I swear to God, if you're using Anomaly Mastery on her.
Since their release, attack percent on slot 6 was better than Anomaly Mastery for them.
I was with you until you mentioned this. I was with you until you didn't. You're not running Anomaly Mastery on your Miyabi. No. No.
Because they both had enough buildup at a baseline that it did affect the rotations.
Also, I always ran Anomaly Mastery on Yanagi because, especially without her weapon. I have her weapon now. I don't know what my current build is. But, I don't think you should be using Yanagi with Anomaly, like, attack person to begin with. I think Anomaly Mastery is always the way to go. And then, like, if you get dupes, energy recharge, because you can spam your abilities more.
Making Anomaly Mastery not needed. But now fast forward to today, and if you watch any high-scoring DA clear using Miyabi or Yanagi, they will both pretty much almost always have Anomaly Mastery on the 6th.
Again, I ran Anomaly Mastery anyways because I'm free to play. I don't have dupes to, like, offset. Also, who is using AM for Miyabi? I'm gonna just, like, grab that account, rip it open, and take that relic and destroy it. Who's using Ketty? Listen, do I gotta yap over? Do I have to yap over to EO? Did EO dissolve your piece? Did you dissolve your EO piece? Oh my God. Do I pull up my account and show you my like 200 EO pieces that I have? Do I have to go into the Discord and just be like, EO, stop recommending Anomaly Mastery slot 6? Look, I stand by. I don't think you run it on her. I have never ran it on her and never had an issue.
But now. So the release of Yuzuha made a lot of players have to adapt due to the universal anomaly increase. And this was Hoyoverse's way of shilling for Yuzuha, making her feel much better of a pull than she already was. But now fast forward to the day with the release of Seed and the new Defiler boss. We are now seeing even more things added to the in-game to make certain archetypes shine. In the case of Defiler, not only is there already an additional anomaly buildup increase, but there is also a debuff that makes anomaly deal 25% less damage. And to really top things off, some players are saying that Hoyoverse is trying to slow Miyabi down, as they're adding more and more bosses that are starting to either A, resist ice, B, be unfreezable, or C, both.
The fact that they're doing unfreezable bosses is crazy. But the other thing he hasn't mentioned with the Defiler is, as I said, there's the transition phase where you cannot apply anomaly and it cannot be stunned. So you really need burst damage that's crit. Because otherwise you're not breaking it. Right.
Yeah. But doing this has caused an unfortunate downside where other ice agents such as Ellen, Joe, and Hugo are now caught in the crossfire. So it seems to many players that Hoyoverse wants to create more.
Ellen is a sustained damage character, just like Asaba. Hugo's burst damage, but like he's reliant on stuns. And so these characters are disadvantaged by the features of the boss as well. To keep in mind, not only the fact that they're, you know, quote unquote, caught in the crossfire.
Bosses that really caters towards a specific archetype. But if you remember what I said earlier, at a base, there's nothing wrong with this. And it only truly becomes a problem when other archetypes feel they don't have a fighting chance anymore. And while I believe that we haven't gone that far yet, it is valid to have this concern for the future if they don't slow down. So this is much more than just an HP increase. It really is all the following combined. HP, extra modifiers, debuffs, resistances, and in-game buffs, all at the same time. But next time you hear any conversation about extra modifiers, debuffs, resistances, and in-game buffs.
There's a factor in here I think you should have included. Is that you definitely should have included like the mechanics of the actual fight itself, because there are mechanics of the fight that do affect the performance of certain characters. Again, like the Filer is the great example with the transition phase, right? So like you are right in this, but there's more nuance to it that you're leaving out.
All at the same time. But next time you hear any conversation around HP inflation, I want you to all understand that this is much more than just HP, and it is a multitude of factors all working together, making more issues that could potentially lead us to dangerous roads in the future. Chapter 7. My message to the community. Recently, I have noticed that there are those among us that believe anyone who speaks up on this topic is just trying to spread ill will. But I believe they may just be a little
Only if you're one of Saint in his orbiters.
bit confused. So I thought it was a great time today to spread this message to you all, so everyone can be on the same page. First things first. Constructive criticism is not toxic. Being positive isn't always good, just like negativity isn't always bad. Being able to critique the things you care for is healthy, and it can be the catalyst that prevents complacency. Because once you become complacent, it becomes very difficult to try and change.
True, true, true. Spitting facts, brother. Keep spitting, keep spitting. I want more of this. Yes, yes, yes.
And I, for one, do not wish that for this game's future. I speak up because I love. I speak up because I care. I speak up for a community that should want the best for their game moving forward. But if you still don't...
That's all I ever want, but then there's certain individuals that, and I gotta stop. I gotta stop, bro. I keep doing that.
Understand. Let me put it to you simply. Someone speaking with passion does not equate to hate. Had we not spoken up about endgame variety, would there even be a Deadly Assault? Had we not spoken up about Hollow Zero, would there even be a Lost Void? Had we not spoken up about older agents, would Ellen Joe have even been buffed? Change happens because of our actions.
Can we get a third in-game mode? Star Wars is about to have 5.
So long as criticism is done constructively and not dismissively, and good decisions are elevated and highlighted for the good that they bring, then the game can continue to improve.
Bro, Genshin Impact has 3. What do you... No! Hey, no, 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 not whale mode. No.
So all I ask is the next time you see or hear someone discussing the game's future, please listen with intent and understand if they are only trying to bring the game down, or if they are someone who truly cares and their passion is just slipping.
I truly care. There are individuals who are trying to bring the game down. We know those individuals.
Out at the moment. And please never forget, united we stand, divided we fall. And if we are to trip one too many times, it can be game over for us all. Villain Zone Zero is a special game for me, as it is a game that I genuinely love. But it is also the game that made me give YouTube another chance. And I would not be on this platform right now.
Nude skins behind whale mode.
It was not for ZZZ. And considering how much YouTube has changed my life over the past year, I will always feel a little bit indebted to it. But I promise from here on, if things need to be said, I will say them. And if there's something that needs to be praised,
yes,
I will praise them.
Yes.
I believe it will be healthy for us all to acknowledge the good and the bad. That way we can continue to give honest feedback to developers. Because I want nothing more than this game to thrive for as long as it can and keep that fire burning.
Yes, thank you. W.
Thank you all for your support. Thank you all for believing in me. And thank you for watching this video. And most importantly, thank you to Shin, my trusted editor, as I know he had so much fun editing this one. But don't forget to join the Discord as I do weekly giveaways there. Check me out on X at ZZZ. I promise I'll start posting more often there. And do me a favor and share this video with your friends so we can help spread the message.
Already done.
And be sure to subscribe for more ZZZ Zero content. And may the future bless us all with a game that we can continue to support and love. But as always, my name is ZZZ, and with that, I'm signing out.
Yo, good video, brother. You kind of missed me with a couple things in the beginning, but you did bring it together. Yeah, good stuff. We should have more constructive, conversations about the actual game instead of what certain people like to propagate, right? The rage inside me is boiling. Where's that thumbnail? He's definitely, dude, an hour and 20 minutes to react. Oof, damn, I'm about to hit that mark, aren't I? G1's been useful in every patch, immune to power creep. No, but yeah, she's been useful in every patch. But yeah, it's a good video. Again, this is a very like a nuanced discussion to be had, and it's pretty much can be summed up as something that developers have to figure out how to balance appropriately in terms of the game, of combat, and the strength of units, right? And so far, they've done a really good job, in my opinion, for the most part. As I said, I think Yuzuha is a bit of an odd case, but as long as we don't have every unit to be like what she is, I think it's totally fine. As I said, like if Chief Miyabi is the power ceiling, and then they just balance everything below that, I think that's totally fine, and that's where I would hope for it to be. I don't want things to be Star Rail level, because like, while I will say to this day, I do think Star Rail in some regards is overblown. They definitely have a problem, because even buffed units get cooked within like an update. So yeah, I don't know. Hopefully this video was informative in some way whatsoever. I don't know. Let's have a discussion about this in the comments below. Of course, subscribe to this gamer here. He's cool. He's chill. And if he sees this video, brother, when are we having the podcast episode? I know I basically don't exist, but like, come on. You left the Discord. I still have you added. We're in the same server. Whatever. It's no big deal. It's no way big deal. Of course I'm chilling myself. It's my own video, damn it. But yeah, like, subscribe, check me out on Twitch. I'll see you guys in the next one.